Hello Internet, and welcome to the JuniorNitro 2022 Q&A. First of all, before we begin, thank you to everybody who submitted questions for the Q&A, and for those of you who missed out, well, I'm sorry to say, you're too late. But we got plenty of questions for a video, so here we go. Let us begin with the Q&A, shall we? Our first question comes from Tabriz Sadiq. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. Who asks, you ever seen any of the Golden Bolts videos from his Ratchet & Clank retrospective, where he takes a huge dive into the behind-the-scenes stuff on the games, what the devs have gone through, and sees how the games ended up the way they did as a result of that? YouTube has been recommending me his videos for a while now. In fact, ever since I started reviewing the Ratchet series, I've been recommended his videos. I have not seen any of them yet, purely because I don't necessarily want to watch them until I've played through all of the games, and then once I'm done reviewing the entire series and I have enough free time, then I'll go through and maybe I'll check them out. But as of right now, no, I have not seen any of them. But maybe that'll be something to watch in the future. Our next question comes from Stinky Nate, who asks, where are you born? Very good question, and the answer is no. Next up, Mr. Glitch, my good friend from the Glitchly Inc. YouTube channel, who asks, are you a wings or a jetpack kind of guy? Well, considering the stages Pack Attack and Rocket from Crash 2, I would probably say jetpack. I like things that propel me upward instead of having these, because can you even control wings? I mean, with a jetpack, I would assume would be better to control, but wings, those are things that come naturally that you kind of have to learn to do, whereas jetpacks are like super easy, and you learn how to use them within like an instant. But wings, it's like it takes a long time, and it's just a complicated process, and yeah, I probably would not be on board with wings at all, so definitely jetpack. Alright, our next batch of questions come from Sterling Rivera. He asked 4 of them, so thank you very much, Sterling. First question is, do you think Crash Bash should get a remaster? Absolutely not. That game deserves to die in peace, with dignity. Just leave it alone. We don't need a remaster for Crash Bash. The game is not good enough to get a remaster. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things they could possibly fix, like maybe the adventure mode could be, less tedious. But considering all of the other remakes that we've gotten over the past few years, ever since Crash Bandicoot, I think a remaster would be redundant, because like, what's the point, I'm not saying that they can't do it. It's definitely in the realm of possibility, but I personally do not want to see a remaster of Crash Bash. I feel like we need to just move on and just get a new game like Crash 4, Just move on and get a new Crash game in the series that follows the events of Crash 4, or maybe sets a new story. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like it's best if we leave Crash Bash alone. So, Sterling's second question is, what is your favorite Mario Party game? The very first Mario Party game I ever played. Mario Party 7 on the GameCube. I don't care who says what, that's my favorite right there. I absolutely love it. Alright, third question from Sterling is, would you rather play Wrath of Cortex or Sonic 06? Man, that is a very good question. Oh boy. Very good question indeed. Wrath of Cortex or Sonic 06? Well, I guess I can talk about the pros and cons of both games. The pros of Wrath of Cortex is that it's structurally sound, surprisingly. It's actually a pretty decent game when it emulates Warped, and I thought that the characters were kind of not used properly, but they still retained their personality in that game, and the controls were pretty good. But to follow up something like Warped It was, you know, kind of unacceptable if you ask me. I guess what the cons is, you know, the controls, like I said, were pretty good, which in a Crash series is not really that good. Some other cons would be that with, you know, the abundance of vehicles, and when it tries its own thing, it's like nothing works. And fuck, there's something else. There's a lot of graphical hiccups in the game. The level design is very bland, and the choice of color palettes is like really bad because almost every other level is like super gray. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And also, the bosses, not the greatest in Crash games, to be honest. Not necessarily the greatest. Like the first boss, for example, they expect you to know how to use the Atmosphere after you've only used it once. So yeah. I guess what the pros of Sonic 06 is that there's a lot of glitches, the story's bad, the soundtrack is pretty good, the final boss was pretty good, and it's actually a fun time when you're playing with friends. The cons, the story's bad, there's a lot of glitches, and it's a lot of fun with friends. You can torture your friends if you want with that game. But to be honest, Sonic 06 has kind of grown on me. You know, like, it's one of those so bad it's good games. Wrath of Cortex is kind of bland and boring to me. Not to say it's a bad game, but it's just kind of mundane compared to the rest of the Crash series. So I'd probably say Sonic 06 because at least with the glitches, at least Sonic 06 can say this about itself. With the glitches, it is incredibly entertaining. Wrath of Cortex, on the other hand, there's barely any glitches at all, and the whole thing is really boring, so you're not going to find anything entertaining in that game at all. Sonic 06, there's a lot that goes on in that game in terms of awful story and glitches and whatever. You're going to have a good time with that game, so I'd probably say Sonic 06. Alright, fourth and final question from Sterling is, what is your favorite game on the Switch at the moment? I don't really play a lot of Switch games, to be honest. I don't have a huge collection of Switch games, but the games that I do play have been pretty okay. I don't necessarily have a favorite Switch game because most of them are, you know, just games that I can play on the PS4. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite Switch game at the moment. I guess I could say Mario Party Superstars, but I've only played that game twice so far. And I haven't really been able to dive deep into it, other than the time, you know, I was on your channel and we played with Dude of Rock 18 and Shadow of 000, and that was a very fun time. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do more of those. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have a favorite Nintendo Switch game because I don't really play that console that often. So yeah, that took a while, but thank you, Sterling, for your questions. We're going to move on to the next batch of questions. Our next batch of 3 questions come from Mojo Saya. You let me know how to pronounce it. I do apologize if I am butchering it. I'll just say Mojo for now. Anyway, Mojo asks, first question, what inspired you to start playing drums? That's a very good question. It was around, I want to say 2012-ish. I was picking up on the drums from watching my dad play and whatever. Also, it helped that back then I used to have the Guitar Hero World Tour drum kit because for one of my birthdays I got Guitar Hero World Tour and it was the band bundle, so I got the guitar, I got the microphone, and I got the drums. So I played the drums most of the time, and in fact I play them so hard that like the drums no longer worked, and after like I want to say a year and a half or so, it just got to the point where we just had to throw it out because it was just no longer working at all. I played that hard. So yeah, that's part of the reason how I managed to get myself into drums, and you know, just watching my dad play on his kit and everything like that, and just kind of the fact that drums are pretty easy to pick up and learn. Like, you could start, the difference between day 1 and day 7, like if you spent a whole week learning how to play the drums, you would get a lot done. Like, you'd make a lot of progress if you kept on it. Like, do at least 2 or 3 hours per day, and you'd pick it up really quickly. And that's the one thing I liked about the drums, is that I didn't really need any kind of tutorials or anything like that to kind of get started. I mean, there's still a lot of things that I have to learn with playing the drums, don't get me wrong, but you know, I learned quite a bit from, like, you know, just playing, you know, and that's the best thing I can really recommend for people who want to get into the drums, is to just start playing them. The more you play them, the more you learn, and I can speak from experience. So that's basically how I got around to doing that. Second question is, what is a video game genre you want to get into but can't? Visual novels. Let me explain. Let me explain. Visual novels. It's a genre that I definitely want to get into after seeing Doki Doki Literature Club and how successful that was, and, you know, finally being able to play the game myself and realizing that it was an absolute, you know, mindfuck. But in a good way. Definitely in a good way. I wanted to get more into, like, the visual novel genre, but there's a couple reasons why I can't. Number one is because of the fact that they all kind of follow the same cliche, where you're a male protagonist, you're thrown into, like, this alternate world, you're isekai'd, if you prefer, into a different world, and you have a childhood friend who most of the time is female, and then you have, like, a bunch of other female friends that you encounter, and then you eventually hook up with them, or you do something to please them, or wow them, or whatever. Like, they're all the same basic cliche in terms of visual novels, and they're all just they're all way too long. Nothing eventful happens in any of them, and most of them end up being a huge mess that makes absolutely no sense, like 30 minutes in. So that's one reason why I can't. The other reason is the prices a lot of them go by, especially on Steam. Holy shit. Not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. For the same exact damn visual novel over and over and over again, for the same price, if not more expensive, yeah, no. I'm not doing that. I'll just stick with this. Thank you very much. Third and final question from Mojo. What is a dream crossover game you wish would come true? You see these two? I want a legitimate platformer starring these two. None of this Olympic shit. Okay? Don't get me wrong, this is a great video game series, and in fact, this one I'm holding right now is arguably the best in the series, aside from Vancouver. But I want these two to star in a legitimate platformer. So there you go. That's my dream crossover, is Mario and Sonic in a legitimate platformer that is not, you know, just a minigame collection. And the minigames are the Olympic events. So that's my dream crossover that I want to actually happen, is Mario and Sonic in an actual game. Alright, next batch of questions are from Utmost, and he asked 5 questions. So first one is, do you think frogs are pretty cool? No. Second question, if you had a pet frog, what would you name it? Well, I don't like frogs, but if I had one, I'd name it Slippy, because chances are it would be very annoying to own a frog. So that's why I would name it Slippy. Number 3, how many frogs is too many? Hint, it's never too many. That is incorrect. The correct answer is 1. Number 4, what is your favorite Ragemaster 15 -- video? The one where he talked about the only recording software that he had being his PS Vita. So it's the same one where he talks about wanting to make a channel for gaming. I'm totally kidding, by the way. It's the Jelly Bean Challenge giveaway video. That's definitely the one that's my favorite. Question number 5. When are you going to make an attempt at the Double Hot Food Challenge? Absolutely never. Call me a pussy all you want, but I'm not submitting myself to that. Fuck that shit, man. We have 3 questions from Flinny, who is a very good friend of mine. We talk a bit on Discord and whatever, and he also makes videos kind of similar to mine, so do check him out if you are interested. First question he asks is, what are your opinions on the current state of the game industry, and has that changed the way you think about or understand newer releases nowadays compared to a simpler time, say the 2000s? Well, the one main difference is that in the 2000s, you could try a lot of AAA games before you even, gave them any of your money. Yeah, that's hard to believe, I know, but there was a time, and Cat Icarus has a excellent video about this that he posted 2 years ago. Go check it out if you haven't already. It's called The Wonderful World of PS1 Demo Discs, and he briefly goes through the history of all this sort of thing. What I'm saying is, back in the 2000s, you could actually buy demo discs for like $5 or whatever, or get them in like your monthly subscription magazines, and you could try demos of AAA games months before they were released, instead of spending $60 on a pre-order that gives you a demo to try out for like 3 hours, and then you have to wait for the full game to come out in 2 months, only to have the full game being delayed for another month, and then have that game be delayed for another month, and another delay, and another delay, and another delay, and another delay. God! And most of the time, games don't even come with demos anyway. Companies just want your money immediately, and then want you to decide whether or not you like the game after you've already bought it. So, yeah, that's one main difference with the video game industry between, then and now. I'd say the other thing is the fact that, Jesus Christ, a lot of these new games get rushed out the door so quickly for the fans who want to play the game today. Like, stop, number 1. Number 2, if you have to delay the game to make it better, please do. Because the last thing I want is to get a game 2 months before it's supposed to be actually released, and then have it be an absolutely broken mess and be like, wow, I can't believe I spent $50 or $60 or whatever on this. Like, it's not getting any better. That's it. Pack it in. So yeah, I'm hoping that game companies will, see that and be like, oh, you know what? Maybe we ought to, maybe we ought to hold back on the release of the game, so that way we can, tighten it up and, tighten the loose ends and tie everything together and everything like that. Just make sure that everything is structurally sound and, make it so that way it doesn't crash or get extremely buggy within the first 2 minutes of booting the damn thing up. And also, $60 for a 15 gigabyte game that crashes upon startup. Let's not have that happen again, okay? I don't want another Cyberpunk 2077. That's basically what I'm saying. Next question from Flinny is, did you watch the Game Awards, and what are your thoughts towards the event in general? I did not. I'm going to be completely honest. I forgot the Game Awards was a thing. I'm not even going to lie. But I did watch the Sonic 2 trailer, which was super fucking awesome. I think that movie's going to turn out really good, with everybody from the first movie returning. Colleen O'Shaughnessy reprising her role for Tails in the movie, which is really cool. But also, goddamn, Idris Elba as Knuckles. That shit gave me goosebumps the first time I saw it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that was fucking amazing. And I really hope the rest of the movie turns out like that trailer, because, wow. Like, I was kind of, I had mixed reactions for the first movie. I thought it was okay, it served its purpose or whatever. But the second movie, if we're just going by the trailer alone, I am fucking hyped. Like, I'm so ready to see that movie. I honestly can't wait. April's not that far away, so you can bet I'll be at the movies watching that, if I'm even allowed to go because of COVID and whatnot. But yeah, that's a movie I'm definitely looking forward to. And I did see the trailer for Frontiers. It looks good, but there's two problems I have with Sonic Frontiers. Number one is the game looks way too similar to Breath of the Wild, and that's concerning. While it is good, it's definitely concerning because, you know, it just looks way too similar in terms of structure and the whole open world thing and the environment itself. Like, if you put a screenshot of Sonic Frontiers and Breath of the Wild side by side, chances are a lot of the unfamiliar will probably think that it's the same thing. You know, it's like the meme of, you know, from The Office, where, you know, you take two pictures and try to you know, figure out which one's different, and then, like, it's like the top layer of the meme is like the two pictures. You know, one is Sonic Frontiers and the other is Breath of the Wild, and then the bottom picture is like Pam Beesly saying they're the same picture. That's basically what Sonic Frontiers is. It looks like Breath of the Wild, and that's mildly concerning. The second problem is I can't get incredibly excited for this game because we still haven't seen any gameplay. It's the same deal with Sonic Forces. It's like, why are people getting so hyped for a 3-minute trailer that just showed cinematics and no gameplay at all? I don't get that. I'm waiting to see gameplay. Until I see gameplay, I'm not going to be incredibly hyped. And the same goes with the new SpongeBob game coming out. I think it's called Cosmic Shake or something like that. That game also, still, as of this filming, has not received any gameplay yet. No gameplay has been shown of that game yet, so I'm still holding my tongue for that game. And now I've got Sonic Frontiers that I got to hold off on because that too is a game that we got to see, but with no gameplay. So I'm going to maintain my optimism here. And the final question from Flinny is, Rayman? Well, I guess only time will tell for that one. Alright, so our next batch of questions come from BandyPat. And one of the questions I already answered earlier in the video, and it was, how did you get into drumming? Mojo asked a question very similar to that, which was, what inspired me to start the drums? And that basically, you know, it's the same question. So we'll move on to the next two questions that BandyPat has. The second question from BandyPat is, what's one unpopular gaming opinion you got? I too will risk the crucifixion by saying that the Sonic Adventure games are not that good. Patrick, you read me like a book. Because yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I am a firm believer of the fact that the Sonic Adventure games were not really that good. Like, I played the first one, and I remember being like, people like this? You know? Because I just didn't find any enjoyment in that game. The fact that it's gotten ported to like the GameCube and like the Xbox stores and PlayStation stores and everything like that, and all the glitches that came with the game, I just didn't get the appeal that Sonic Adventure 1 had. And the same goes for the second game, because I played that one too, and that was another one where I was just like, I just don't get the appeal. Like, these games are not good. You can argue with nostalgia all you want, but nostalgia is it's not a fair argument to you know, bring up when you're talking about, you know, whether or not the Sonic Adventure games were good. I'm sorry, but nostalgia is just an invalid argument. Looking at the games as a whole, they're pretty lackluster, to be honest. A fun time for sure, but terrible. So yeah, and the same goes for Heroes. Did not like that game at all. It was pretty shit. Alright, next question. On a scale of 1 to Giraffe, what's your favorite color of the alphabet? Louis Armstrong. Alright, next batch of questions are from my good friend 251GNR, who has been a longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate your comments and everything like that. He asks, well, looking at the other people's questions, I noticed so surprising thing. There is not an ice hockey question, XD. How shocking was that, XD? So I think I have the honor to ask some of those. And you know it is one of my favorite sports to watch, and you know also that I play that. Colin P. So first question, what is nowadays your favorite NHL team? Because Buffalo has been tough years. Yeah, I think you're the only person who asked like sports related questions, and that's okay, because you know not everybody who watches my videos also watches sports, so you're probably the only one. But again, that's totally fine. As far as my favorite hockey team, I mean it's number one is still the Sabres, despite how shit they are. But if we're going by like my number two team in the NHL, that would be the Columbus Blue Jackets. Second, how about who are your top 5 Finnish players right now who are playing currently? I don't really know a lot of Finnish players in the league anymore, to be honest. Alright, I had to switch to the camera microphone because my actual microphones, the batteries are dying, so I don't know if it picked up any of what I just said, so I'll replay the question. Thoughts about Biscuit's performance this season so far. Like I said, I haven't really been able to watch the videos recently, but from what I've seen, good stuff. Number 4, curiosity. Are you going to bring back reaction series at some point? Because, you know, I was a huge fan of it. Not necessarily. I mean, if I do react to something, chances are it would be on my streams. Would be the only time that I actually react to stuff. So, you know, if you wanted to watch me react to something, probably, you know, the streams on Twitch would be your best bet, because I don't really react to videos these days anymore. So, yeah, I guess the only time you'd find me reacting to something, if I even react to anything, it would be during my live streams. Twitch.tv/nitro_CTR. For anybody who's interested. And are you ready for the last question? No, this is not the final question, XD. Sure. Number 5, what video series you would like to see to return, or new series in my channel? I do like watching Crash Bash videos, and you know, if that was an outlet for me, I would be doing it, but, you know, I like, you know, the stuff that I do nowadays. Yeah, I would say the Crash Bash videos. I think they're pretty entertaining, and a lot of weird shit takes place in Crash Bash when you least expect it. So, yeah, that's definitely a series of videos I'd like to see on your channel at some point. Thank you for the questions, 251GNR, and now we're going to move on to Monstro. First question he asked is, what are some games, movies, albums, etc. that you once loved and now absolutely can't stand, or vice versa? As a personal example, I used to like the band Death Grips and absolutely can't stand them now. I also used to really dislike the first Kingdom Hearts game, whereas now I'd say it's probably one of my favorites. Yeah, so I guess I got 2 examples of, you know, liking something before and now no longer liking it, and the other one. So yeah, I guess I could answer that question with both things. I'm gonna say one particular I'll say group, like musical group, and that is Spiralmouth. I used to really like Spiralmouth at one point, and I was singing their praises in my Twinsanity review, if anybody watched it, which you probably did. I sung my praises for Spiralmouth in that review, and nowadays it's like I can't watch that review because it's 100% not true anymore. Like, I personally don't like Spiralmouth anymore. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, Monstro doesn't like them or anything like that. No, I genuinely do not like Spiralmouth anymore. Like, they're just not musically talented at all. Like, not even in the slightest. And if you listen to their a cappella covers, my God, they are some of the worst things you will ever listen to. Trust me. Like, they are definitely no pentatonics. They suck. I cannot stand them anymore. And every time I play Crash to Insanity, I put the music volume all the way down to, like, at the very highest 2 or 3. And if I'm really annoyed, I just mute the music entirely. Like, I try to keep it on just for, like, background music and whatever. But if I'm at a point where I'm, like, getting incredibly irritated, then I will go ahead and just mute the music because, yeah, I'm at the point where cannot stand Spiral Mouth anymore. And the same can kind of go for Soul Coughing. I used to really like that band, but now it's like, with the exception of a couple songs on Irresistible Bliss and El Oso, the rest of their songs are incredibly shit, and I do not like them at all. So there's a couple examples. And I think in another one where I would say The Wrath of Cortex is a game that I used to absolutely hate, and you would know because you know we talked about this. Wrath of Cortex was a game where I was just going by, you know, what Monstro said in his old review of Wrath of Cortex, all the way back from like the Stimpyland days, and all he did was like shit on the game incredibly, and he even went on like an entire 40-minute rant, which neither one of us recommend you check out because it was awful, and he spent like half the time ranting about the sub. And yeah, I used to think that was like a legitimate opinion to have about Wrath of Cortex, and I kind of followed the same motive, where I just flat out did not like that game. Like, I didn't want to touch it, I didn't want to play it, I didn't want to do anything with it, and it was kind of projected terribly in my first review of Wrath of Cortex, where I basically just said all the same shit that Monstro did, and I didn't really look at the game as a whole because, you know, I didn't really want to be bothered. But nowadays, I don't necessarily play Wrath of Cortex, but in the times that I have played it, it's been okay. Like, I can tolerate it now. Like, it's not that bad of a game. Not as bad as, you know, we were claiming at one point. Definitely not. We've got Twinsanity to thank for that. But yeah, Wrath of Cortex was a game that I used to hate, but nowadays it's like, it's fine. Like, I'll play it every once in a while. I won't play it periodically, like, you know, the old Crash games, or CTR or anything like that. But yeah, it's okay. Second question: any plans to do more tech reviews, like your RetroTink 2X Pro review? Thought it was the best video you've done in a while. Well, thank you. Yeah, I actually do have another tech review planned. It's on the RetroTink 5X, which will be going live very soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that. In terms of other tech reviews, I'm not entirely sure. Like, it's definitely something I want to dabble into, and see where it goes. And if it's something that, you know, I find myself enjoying, then yeah, I would say keep an eye out for more of them. But if it's something that it gets incredibly stale after a while, I'll just, you know, kind of not do them anymore. But as of right now, I'm actually enjoying, you know, making those kind of short little reviews about things that I purchased or tested out or whatever. And I do plan on a tech review in the future for a certain PC build that I've had my eye on for a while. So yeah, look forward to that whenever that happens. But one for sure is the RetroTink 5X, which will be very soon, and I'm super excited to show you guys what the damn thing is capable of, and I'm super excited to get back into retro gaming now with the RetroTink 5X, and it's just, oh, it's so beautiful. I love it. So yeah, that's definitely on the way. Number 3, although I do have to ask, any thoughts on getting a camera that can focus properly? How dare you! My camera can focus just fine! But in all seriousness, I don't really necessarily think it's the camera's fault, although the focus is still very hit or miss, don't get me wrong. I think it was more or less due to the fact that my lighting was, you know, shit. Like I have the giant ring light, which is now allowing the camera to see my face and therefore, you know, help to focus a lot better. But if I turn this off, yeah, it makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it? And yeah, as you can see right now, the camera is doing what it can to adjust and, you know, shift focus and whatever. But it has to do a lot of extra work, and most of the time the focus is, like, you know, really bad, like in a lot of those reviews. Before getting this, So now with this, the camera will see, oh my god, there's a lot of light now. Hallelujah. And you know, make its adjustments and whatever. It's still not 100%, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot better now with the huge ass light. So I don't think it was more. I don't think it was the camera's fault. I think it was more or less my fault for not having the proper lighting at the time. But to each their own, I guess. Next question. Do you think I've run out of questions yet? You never run out of questions. Fifth question is not even a question, and I think if I read this out loud, I'm gonna get demonetized. Well, not demonetized, but just this is probably a whole bunch of no-no shit that I can't say on YouTube. So I'll just say yes. Thank you, Monstro, for your questions. Next question from Lizardman. What made you want to start doing reviews? Monstro's old Stimpyland videos, as well as watching the old Crash reviews that Square Eye Jack did. Those two were my main inspirations for starting the reviews. And it's kind of embarrassing looking back at it, because, you know, nowadays it's like, you know, I talk to Monstro from time to time, and, you know, in the chats that we've had, you know, we kind of both came to a mutual agreement where, you know, those old videos of his were, like, absolutely terrible, and I feel the same way for my old reviews as well. Like, yeah, they're pretty shit. Yeah, so those two, Monstro, well, the old Stimpyland videos, and Square Eye Jack were huge inspirations for me. Yeah, and also because reviewing games is like a great excuse to like go through the entire game and just like give my honest thoughts about them, and reviews is like, they don't require that much, like the editing isn't incredibly taxing in terms of reviews, because, you know, you can just record a narration of, you know, you reviewing the game, and you can place gameplay on top of what you're saying, and, you know, line everything up and everything like that. And yeah, it's super simple, and I picked up on it like almost immediately. So it was a fun thing to do, and I continue to do it to this day, and it's become my #1 thing to do on the channel. So yeah, I'm kind of glad, to be honest, because I really love making the reviews that I put out. We got a batch of 4 questions coming from Cashbanacho. It's been a while. Hope everything's going well for you, man. It certainly is. Thank you very much. Everything has been going well for me. Question number 1. Now that Nitro Fueled finished getting updates, kind of late, I know, lol. What are your thoughts on the game now? I mean, microtransactions still exist, but thankfully they are entirely optional, so they don't completely ruin the game. But, you know, with all the skins that you can get in that game, and the fact that they're all 2,500 coins apiece, and the fact that you still only get less than 100 coins per race offline, and I don't even know about online, granted it fucking works, it's just not worth it anymore. Like, I don't even play Crash Team Racing to, like, collect all the skins anymore, because I have, like, everything else. I have, like, all the Grand Prix stuff, I have all the characters unlocked and everything like that, and that's really all you need. And, you know, nowadays, you get, like, for, like, there's $60 deluxe editions that come with, like, everything from the Grand Prix for those who missed out, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But, you know, it's just a perfect example of, you know, kind of giving up on the game when it was at its peak, if you ask me. Because, you know, Beanox was like, oh, we want to make content, you know, because they in interviews they were constantly saying, like, we want to make Crash Team Racing as good as it possibly can, so that way people are playing it for the next 5 or so years. And then March 2020 came around, and they were like, oh, by the way, we're not doing Grand Prix anymore. Thanks, bye. We're working on inverted mode in Crash 4 that ended up being completely shit, and ended up adding a whole bunch of random shit to the game, and another completion to 106%, which, by the way, you need in order to get 106%. You need to do them all. You need to go back through with all the different filters and whatever that we put on it that that make your eyes want to Wallace and vomit. The developer time trials are a bitch, so I'll give them that. But Tiny Arena was actually the easiest dev time trial. Like, it was like you just have to cut the corners in Tiny Arena because there's no like exploitable shortcuts on that track. Like you just do a regular race and like cut all the corners and make sure you hold on to your sacred fire the whole time, because otherwise the dev will catch up to you. But other than that, you know, there was no problems that I had with that time trial. In fact, I beat it first try. Like, I'm not even saying that to sound good. Like, I genuinely, it only took me one attempt to beat the dev time trial on Tiny Arena. It wasn't that hard. Like, I feel like it died too soon. The game as a whole, I feel like it died too soon because there was potential for a lot more shit to come in the future. And I don't know if COVID has anything to do with, you know, the fact that we no longer got Grand Prix or whatever, or any updates to like the online servers or anything like that, which angers me to my core. But, you know, if it does, then, you know, oh well. But if it doesn't, and this is just an example of Beanox wanting to move on to the next thing, then yeah, it's pretty shit looking back at it. I don't necessarily think that the game changed all that much, except for, you know, like a lot of the physical hiccups with the game, like how sometimes you would, when you're jumping off a ramp, and your character would just like crash into an invisible wall for no reason, and you would just fall straight down. That got removed, thank God. The sewer speedway shortcut was fixed, thank God. A lot of other physics-related glitches were definitely fixed, and a lot of exploits were fixed as well, like Thunderstruck and Engine Labs and whatever. All that got, you know, fixed, and even Tiger Temple. I remember doing Tiger Temple with the exploit, and that was a ton of fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed pulling that off. But yeah, in terms of what they did to like polish the game as much as they possibly could, I do applaud them for that. But more or less, it's kind of the same game. So I definitely would keep my original score for the game, which was 8 out of 10. So that's not going anywhere. And you know, the extra stuff is very nice. I did like all the stuff that we got from the Grand Prix, but I don't think it's enough, to be honest. Like, I know we've got like basically every character I could have ever wanted in the game, but more content, man. It would have been nice. Like, you brought Spyro in, so you could have gotten like Mod Nation Racers, you know, Sackboy from Little Big Planet. Could have gotten the little Astro dude in like Astro's Playroom, you know, that little guy. He could have been in the game as like a Grand Prix character. A whole lot of missed potential in terms of the Grand Prix. And as far as the Beanox stuff is concerned, well, at least it finally gave Geary a skin, because, you know, that was a meme. And a fucking crate is a character now, so I guess there's that. But other than that, I mean, it's more or less the same game that I reviewed with Toasty Man. Alright, next up, favorite and least favorite Pixar movie. My favorite would be Toy Story 2, with Toy Story 1 being a very, very close second. My least favorite probably would have to be Cars 3. I didn't get why Cars 3 was like, I don't know why people thought it was good. Like, it wasn't. Like, the movie as a whole was basically the first movie, except somehow worse. Cars 3 is like the perfect example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Otherwise, this happens. The fuck? Alright, third question. What are some gaming franchises you really want to try out? I have not played the Oddworld games yet, nor have I played either of the two Psychonauts games. So those are ones that I definitely want to check out. And Rayman's another one, for sure. And unironically, Bubsy. Like, I genuinely want to play those games to see if they're just as bad as people are saying they are. Including the fucking Willy Strike Back. Yeah, I want to... I'm being genuine when I say I want to, you know, check out the Bubsy series. Fourth question. What's your main console of choice to play? Mostly PlayStation. If we're going to be more specific, I would say the PS2, because that is my favorite console ever. With the very close second being the PS1, obviously. So yeah, the first two PlayStations would be like my go-to consoles. PS2 in particular. The PS2 is my favorite console of all time, so that would be choice number one. So thank you for submitting those questions, Cash Bonacho, and now we're moving on to 2 questions from Kid with Problems. First one, favorite bag of chips? I don't know if Doritos count, but yeah, I'll say Doritos. Second question, what is a game series that everyone enjoys but you just genuinely don't? I guess I could say, like, really any RPGs. More specifically, Final Fantasy. Like, I mean, the games do have their fans, and I'm fully aware of that, but me personally, I just never in my entire life, nor will I think I ever be able to understand what made those games so good. Like, I never got the appeal. And people have been telling me to, like, play some of the Final Fantasy games, and one that I hear all the time is, you know, Final Fantasy VII, obviously. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get the appeal. And it also doesn't help that, you know, I don't really personally like RPGs because, I mean, especially the turn-based ones, because they're slow, they're repetitive, they're tedious, they take way too long, and I just don't have the time to properly sit down and enjoy any of them. Even the big hitters like Final Fantasy, they just go on for way too long, and every sequel is like a whole bunch of different characters that did not return from the previous game or whatever. Like, it's just a load of whack, and I have no interest. So I don't get the appeal at all. I'm sorry if that offends any Final Fantasy fans, but I'm sorry. I don't even care if I'm alone in that regard. I probably am not, but if I am, I don't care. I don't get the appeal. I just don't understand at all. Alright, and our final 4 questions for this video come from Nitro Crash 31. So the first one, can you make more drum covers? I most certainly can, so definitely keep an eye out for those. The main problem I'm having with it right now is, for whatever reason, the mixer that I use to hook my drums up to my computer, for whatever reason, Windows is not recognizing it, no matter what I do. Uninstalling, reinstalling, updating drivers, everything. Everything I tried, Windows is just like, nope, we don't know what the fuck this is that you're trying to connect. So, whenever I'm able to remedy that problem, drum covers will return. I still got to do the obligatory chop suey drum cover that everybody else has done to death, so look out for that one. And I also do plan on doing a drum cover of the background music for the Shadowgate level Hall of Mirrors. And I'm going to play a quick sample for you right now so you can figure out why. Man, that makes me want to go on a 5-minute rant about Silicon Graphics computers now. Second question. Who is your favorite YouTuber? Are you ready for this? This is a name you probably haven't heard of because it's been so long. Tyrant King 10, who nowadays goes by Tyrant, which I don't know if it really is any significance, but yeah, Tyrant, who was formerly known as Tyrant King 10, he is my favorite YouTuber, He basically is like my original inspiration for starting the channel in the first place. While Monstro and Square Eye Jack inspired me to make reviews, Tyrant King 10 inspired me to make this channel that you're on right now. So yeah, he is my favorite YouTuber, bar none. And you were probably expecting Game Grumps or Ratchet, or not Ratchet, Jacksepticeye or Markiplier or any of those names to be said, but no. Tyrant King 10. Number 3, what artists do you listen to? Okay, there's a whole bunch of them. I can give you a quick list, but there's like I said, I listen to a whole bunch of different artists and whatnot. No country though, because I'm not particularly a fan, and no rap, obviously, with the exception of Eminem, because all other rap is garbage. But I can give a quick list. A few recent artists I've been listening to, and again, this is just to name a few: System of a Down, Incubus, Tame Impala, The Police. I've been getting into more Primus, Tom Petty, a little bit, Rod Stewart, yes, Phil Collins, Baby Metal, and obviously Metallica. I've only listed like 10 names, but again, there's like a whole bunch of them. I'd be here all day if I was listing all of them. And in fact, I don't remember. In fact, I can't really, list all of them because half of them I don't even remember. So, like I said, there's a whole bunch. I could go on forever, but I don't want to because this video is already droning on long enough. And finally, are you going to redo some reviews that you are not happy with? These 4 games right here. These are basically where I got my start in making the reviews, just like, Monstro and Jack. The reason why I don't have CTR in here is because I've already revisited that game. And I don't really want to do it again. I don't want to revisit a revisit. So yeah, these 4 games in particular are the 4 main reviews that I want to go back and redo because, I mean, they were all shit. Like this one especially, because this one wasn't even a goddamn review. So I definitely want to go back and get that one done whenever I can. And this one was like the first proper review I did. Looking back, it was pretty terrible. So that's another one. This one was just as bad, so expect it to come back again in the future. I'll probably do what I have planned is I'll go back. Oh fuck, there goes Crash 2. I plan on doing one full episode where I revisit the original PS1 trilogy, just so I can give them all proper reviews and whatever. Yeah, so that's one episode that I have planned for this season when we get to that point. And after that, the Crash Bash revisit, because I have a different opinion on this game, and yeah, pretty much everything I said in that old review was bad and or irrelevant. So yeah, so expect a revisit for this game as well. Other than that, most of the reviews that I want to go back and redo, I've already redone. Like Pac-Man World Rally was one I wanted to go back and revisit, and I did that back in Season 4. Because I was reviewing the Pac-Man World Trilogy, and I was like, oh, you know what, this would be a great excuse to go back to World Rally, so yeah, so that happened. In 2019, I did a day-by-day series in the month of December called the Wrathbend Calendar. Throughout the entire month, I looked at every level of the Wrath of Cortex one by one, from day 1 all the way up to day 31, December 1st to the 31st. And yeah, I consider that my technical revisit of the Wrath of Cortex because it gives a little more. I do a lot better in terms of expressing my thoughts about the game, and on the last one, or if you watch the supercut, you get like all the way to the end. I talk about my thoughts about the game, and you know, I thought, like I said, basically what I was saying at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this whole thing, Wrath of Cortex was an okay game. So yeah, if you're looking for a Wrath of Cortex revisit, I would watch the Rathband calendar from 2019. I still really like it. It's one of my favorite projects I've done thus far. And yeah, I definitely recommend you check that out if you want to watch like me revisit the Wrath of Cortex, because you know that's available, and if you want to watch that, it's there for you. All right, and with that, we are fresh out of questions for this Q&A. So thank you everybody who submitted the questions, and thank you the viewer for watching this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to the future reviews that are coming very soon. And of course, you know, the next episode of John's Reviews will be the next episode of the Ratchet Season Marathon, in which we are going to be taking a look at the PSP titles, Ratchet & Clank Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank. They'll both be in one video, so keep an eye out on that. I got a PSP. It's not the Mystic Silver one that you saw in the Ratchet Deadlocked video. It's actually, because the D-pad doesn't work half the time. This is a Midnight Blue 2000 model that I just bought, and it works much better. And yeah, I absolutely love the color. Yeah, definitely keep an eye out for those reviews to come out at some point, and yeah, so look forward to all of that, and I cannot wait to get back to work on those, so definitely look forward to them. But for now, thank you all for watching the Q&A. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm JuniorNitro. Thank you to everybody who submitted your questions, thank you to everybody who watched the video, and I will see you all next time.